The Quebec government provided slightly richer tax deferrals and other support to businesses and households to sustain them through the shutdowns. Quebec households also came into the pandemic in slightly better economic shape than other parts of the country.
I'm Natalie Nanowski, and welcome back to the Midweek Exchange, the show where we break down the big economic issues and explain how they could impact your life. I'm joined by Brett House, Scotiabank's VP and Deputy Chief Economist. Hi, Brett. How are you doing today?
Hi, Natalie. It's good to be back on with you.
Good to see you too. And I want to talk to you today about post-pandemic recovery. The province that's experiencing the strongest growth right now is Quebec. And for the first time in history, it's poised to lead the country economically. What factors put it in such a strong position?
Well, you're right, Natalie. We saw Quebec attain the level of economic activity on par with pre-pandemic periods in March of this year. So a few months ahead of any other part of the country. And it's sustained that rebound through the remainder of 2021 so far. And it's likely to see the highest growth rate of any province this year. And that's probably due to a few factors. First off, the Quebec government provided slightly richer tax deferrals and other support to businesses and households to sustain them through the shutdowns. Quebec households also came into the pandemic in slightly better economic shape than other parts of the country. They had higher asset to liability ratios and higher savings ratios than households in other provinces. And finally, Quebec saw almost the largest amongst any province of support under some of the various federal schemes that were provided to get households and businesses through the pandemic. And together, those factors have meant that consumption, which is the biggest share of GDP in Quebec, as it is in all provinces, has responded more quickly in La Belle Province than in other parts of Canada.
Well, looking at the rest of the country right now and that economic recovery, this week, the throne speech gave us a look at the federal government's agenda. Was there anything in there that stood out for you?
Well, there are a number of mentions of intentions and policies around climate change, inclusion, greater resilience and diversity. But I focused right in on the things that were mentioned on housing, because housing supply and access to finance formed a big part of the Liberal Party agenda going into the election, as it did in the platforms of all the parties. And I think it's potentially instructive to see what amongst a long list of measures got called out in the throne speech. And first off, there was mention of the Municipal Accelerator Fund, which is a federal government honeypot, which is going to be used as a carrot to cities to bring in more inclusive and more effective zoning, streamlined and faster and efficient approvals processes, and other incentives to more densification. And so I think that's going to be an interesting thing where we'll see policy action early on in this government. You also saw mention of a few incentives and tax breaks for first-time home buyers, and we'll likely see those feature in early policy measures by the new government.
Yeah, housing is a big issue for sure. When it comes to the next week, though, what should we be looking out for there?
Well, it's the beginning of a new month next week, and we'll be getting data on Canada and US auto sales. And so we'll be looking to see whether some of the supply bottlenecks that have been so critical in that sector are starting to loosen and allow automakers to get more cars onto dealer lots and more cars from dealer lots into garages.
I'm sure a lot of people would like to see that happen before the holidays. Thanks so much, Brett.
Good to chat.
Good to chat with you too. And we'll have more Midweek Exchange coming up next Wednesday.